When you start looking at aftermarket wheels, I'm gonna be honest, Motegi is a brand that I used to think of all the time. And over the past few years, I kind of stopped. I don't know what happened or why, but it just seemed like it was a brand that was coming out with cool stuff, but I never really seemed to see it out there. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, can you guys send us some wheels? I'd like to see what you're up to. And they said, absolutely, here's what we got. This is a brand new wheel from Motegi, and I wanna talk to you about it because you might be looking at it, and if you're not, you might be now. This is the Motegi MF416 V. This is a custom forged two-piece wheel, which means it's gonna come from anywhere from your 15 to your 20-inch diameter. Tiny face or huge face. And in terms of width, you're gonna see this thing come in a 15-inch diameter. It's gonna be the width from 4 inches to 10.5 inches wide. And the 16, it's a 5.5 to a 9.5 inch wide. From the 17, it's a 7 to 11 inch wide wheel. From the 18, it's a 7 to 12 inch. 19 is 8.5 to 10.5, and 20 is 8 inches to 12 inches wide. That is the widest range of a two-piece forged wheel I think I've seen in some time, which you might be asking yourself, well, what's the cost? So the 15-inch is gonna cost you $1,000 a wheel. Going all the way up to an 18-inch is gonna be right around $1,300 a wheel, or $5,200 for a set of 4. Or if you want a 20-inch wheel, that's gonna cost you right around $1,400 or right around $5,600 a wheel. This is not a cheap wheel. This is a very expensive wheel, but you are getting a two-piece forged. Why you would buy something like this? Most notably, you're gonna buy something like this because you need something very specifically made. Offset, bolt pattern, that's something that Motegi can do. You can get this in pretty much any bolt pattern, and you can get this in pretty much any offset. In addition to that, you heard me mention that the 15-inch can come in a width of 4 inches wide. You might be asking yourself, why would you ever run a 15x4? Well, in certain applications, particularly in drag racing applications, you might end up running a very skinny front. I've seen that very common on G8s and other old Pontiac platforms, as well as even some old Volvos that are LS swapped. They'll run something like that. This wheel is a very interesting wheel, and I want to talk about it because it kind of carries some design cues that leave me a little bit conflicted. For anybody that's wondering, this one particularly is a pretty gorgeous looking wheel, and we kind of have it dirtied up a little bit, but we promise we keep it clean as best as we can. When you're looking at the wheel itself, you're gonna notice that that mounting surface is massive. This section right here is pretty damn big. Why it's this big? Maybe a couple reasons. Could be because the face is getting drilled into various bolt patterns. It could also just be the design of the wheel. You're gonna notice that they have these pocketing in between the lug holes. That's gonna help save on weight, which is also really important. Two-piece forged wheels, typically not the lightest in the world. Your lightest is gonna be coming from a one-piece forged wheel, because as you start to actually weld this on, because this is a welded two-piece, you start to add weight to something like this. Taking a look at the spoke itself, it is a little bit of a smaller spoke, but it still carries a lot of this JDM-esque design. This is where things start to get a little confusing for me and maybe for you too. You've got this very American style center bore. Something like this I would see on like an American racing wheel, something that's even forged that you'd see on a dragster. But once you get to the spoke, you get this like Nismo LMGT4 style spoke. You get this tapered finish toward the lip. You get this fat to skinny style design. And if you just look at that, you could say to yourself, I kind of see some Japanese wheel kind of hiding in this design. And then once you get to the lip, all hell breaks loose. You have almost a double style lip here that kind of gets receded down and receded down again. It gives you that step up or step lip style design that you see really commonly on rebarreled BBSs for the European community. So you can't really tell, is this an 18-inch face on a 20-inch wheel? Or is this a 17-inch face on a 19-inch wheel? You don't really know. But what I can say is it gives it a very unique look. Just taking a look at it from the side, you can see the concavity, but straight on, it's a little bit harder to tell. I was talking to the boys before we started filming this, and I said, what do we think that this would go on? And we had a tough time really trying to figure it out until I think I cracked the answer. The smaller stuff that we just talked about, that 15x4, that 15x8, things like that, I think you could see typically work as a dragster style wheel, or even on something as a very old Japanese tuner wheel if you needed something unique for your Cressida or for your Y32 or something like that. As you get up in the diameter size though, I think this would look pretty fantastic on a Z platform. The lip is really cool, the spoke design is awesome, that center bore is just pretty darn big. Now, can you get this wheel made in any offset, any finish, and is it gonna cost you a pretty penny? Absolutely, but Motegi is no slouch in terms of developing darn good wheels. They're part of the Wheel Pros family. They have been for a while now, and they've been introducing one-piece and two-piece wheels for quite a while. Specifically for this wheel, we're looking at 21.6 pounds, which is not too bad considering the size. I had to pull out the old tape measure here because I couldn't actually figure out what size this is. So this is a 16-inch face that's upsized into a 19-inch diameter wheel done through this barrel that you're seeing right now, which is why it gives it that kind of beadlock dragster style look. It's a very small face on a very big wheel. In terms of the width though, we're looking at a 10 wide. So a 19 by 10 coming in at 21 pounds with a 16-inch face, I think is pretty good. Now, I ain't got no bill on me, but in terms of a 3-inch lip, it's a pretty good looking lip, and you get something that's dialed in for your fitment. 3 reasons why I would buy a wheel like this and 2 reasons why I wouldn't. I'd buy something like this if I need something very specific for my car. If the bolt pattern and offset need to be unique, I would go with a 2-piece forged. Second reason, I'm gonna be using the wheel for some sort of motorsport use. 2-piece forged wheels, their biggest thing is that they're strong, especially when they're welded correctly, which this one is welded very, very well. This is gonna do a really great job at hanging on to anything you could possibly throw at it. Number 3, if I wanted something different. The Motegi is a different wheel. It's a brand that a lot of people know but haven't really heard of in some time. So if I wanted to make a little bit of a splash and do something that was a little bit more unique, I'd pick up something like this. It's a relatively light wheel. I think it looks great. It needs to be cleaned up, but that's something for us to do and not something for Motegi to do. 2 reasons why I wouldn't. Now, it does have a little bit more of a dragster look. So if you're looking for something that's strictly a tuner style design, my recommendation is to get a wheel that's got a longer spoke, still has this tapered look, but not so big of a center hub. Second reason why I wouldn't is the price. $1,000 for a 15-inch for 2-piece forged is a heavy price tag. You're paying $4 grand for a set of wheels, upwards to $5,600 for a set of wheels. And I'm gonna be honest, you better really know what you want if you're gonna be spending that amount of money. There's a lot of affordable options out there if you're looking for wheels. So if you have something that's a common bolt pattern, a common offset, and you wanna get something that's chrome, there are other options available. This is a very niche wheel for a very particular person that's looking for a very particular fitment. And if that doesn't meet your needs, my recommendation would be to keep browsing on martiniworks.com until you find the wheel that you're looking for. But if you don't see something that you need and you need something custom, this Motegi might just be the answer. But let me know what questions you have below. And of course, thank you so much for watching. If you're looking for wheels, head on over to martiniworks.com. I'm Alex Martini, and we will see you soon.